bark pieces and the rotted pieces of wood, those are going to be useful down the road. In a second I'll show you what we're going to do with those. They're going to be a nice touch to these raised beds. There you go. These pieces are going to be some helpful stuff. Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Gardenguy, Benj, and I'm here to help you today with one of the awesomest, coolest hacks that I've ever found about how to fill raised beds. When it comes to raised beds, the reality is you have a situation where the sides are wooden, usually wooden. It's not always wooden, but if it's wooden, or you might be using some center blocks or different types of material like that. The reality is when the sun hits the side like that, it's heating it up and it's causing evaporation. So what you run into is the soil inside your beds starts to dry out on the edges. I mean, it's just a reality of how it is. It's gonna happen. But one way to counteract and fight against that evaporation and that drying out of these raised beds is to build the soil, number one, using like higher organic matter soil, because that means the organic matter is going to hold that moisture. Also, try to use some clay. The clay will hold that moisture as well because it's so dense. But also, and this is the hack I've got for you, is you can use pieces of wood in the bottom of your bed, and those will act like a sponge. They will hold that moisture. As they decompose, they will start to become like a sponge. Like I was digging here earlier for this job, and I found these roots that had been here for a little bit decomposing. And if you grab one of these, you can see this piece of wood? This was here, dug it out, it's one of those roots. And if I squeeze this, look at that, it's got water in it. Also, while these decompose, these pieces of wood decompose, they are actually seeping nutrients into your raised beds, and the plants above, when they shoot those roots down, those roots are going to find those nutrients and they're going to bring them up back to the top. Now there's a few things you want to watch out for using these pieces of wood. Now let me show you. See, this wood right here has got all kinds of fungi and lichen and fun stuff growing on it, and that means also that whenever I put this in here like that, that is actually inoculating this bed with beneficial fungi and probably some bacteria, but mostly fungi. So as we add these pieces of wood, even the bark, you know, here we got the bark, we got all these different pieces. These are inoculating the soil with beneficial fungi. Got this soil in here. I'm gonna go ahead and spread it around. This is all part of a practice called Hugelkultur. Hugelkultur, that is a German word for wood culture. And basically what it is trying to recreate some of the scenario that we see out in forests. In forests, you see, you know, a tree dies, falls down, boom, hits the ground, all the leaves and stuff decay first, and then the branches, and then you have the tree stump, or the root and all the big main trunk, and that takes a little while to break down. And what happens is, if you look underneath those trees like that, there's all kinds of soil life, all kinds of microbes just thriving. You see all kinds of mushrooms. See that right there? See, I mean, looking at these, we have so much fungi, big a piece right there that is starting to break this down. I mean, we're talking probably hundreds, if not thousands, of types of fungi that are helping to decompose these big old chunks of carbon. When we put these in our raised beds, what we get is we are bringing in some of the benefits of the forests out there. Because the forest, if you ever go out into a forest, usually it's not very dry. Usually there's quite a bit of soil moisture that's retained because it has this top layer of wood and leaves, litter, and all this huge web of mycelium, basically the roots of fungi. So that's what we're doing here. We're we're trying to add some of the benefits of the forest into our raised beds. Now if you're going to do this, I would definitely not let these pieces of wood touch the outside, especially if they're wooden, because that's just going to decompose your wood out here that much faster. So make sure that you have a buffer of about 6 inches to a foot within. Also, you don't want to put these too shallow. I still have about 18 inches to build up. So I'm putting these about 18 inches to 2 feet below where my surface is going to be. And that way, as soon as she starts digging, she's not going to hit these. So when she waters, it'll be a sponge and they will start feeding the nutrients and the soil moisture of the whole bed. Just look at all that fungi, all different types. It's going to be awesome for this bed. There you go, looking good. Got that down there. I could honestly add more, I just don't have more with me, but you can put a solid, you know, pretty solid layer in there. You could also put large pieces of wood, like whole trunks in there. One thing to note about this is by putting larger pieces of wood in here, even like, you know, whole trunks of trees, if you put them in there like that, that means that the only surface area that is having contact with soil is right around the edge. Whereas with like wood chips, there's all kinds of surface area. Every little piece has all edges that are exposed to the soil and therefore the microbes. So by putting these bigger pieces in here, you're not going to run into the problem that we see sometimes with all kinds of a bunch of carbon all at once that has a lot of surface area. With these, it's going to slowly decompose, slowly break down, and what you get is a slow release of, like we said, moisture, but also mainly the benefits of the minerals and the nutrients that are coming from these pieces of wood. Hardwood is going to break down even slower than softwood, so just keep that in mind. If you use pine, that's going to mean that it's going to potentially lower your pH, which could be bad, could be good, depending on what your type of soil is. Regardless, it's a great way to fill your beds and to have almost like a reservoir. Thank you guys for watching the Garden Guy channel. Good times. That is one awesome hack for how to fill your raised beds in a way that is actually beneficial for long-term success. See you guys on the flip side.